You know, you guys, I think it's safe to say that going into the 2022 NBA playoffs, that whether you were a fan of these two teams or not, one series in particular was circled over the rest, at least in terms of entertainment. And of course, we are referring to the absolute dogfight of a series we have in front of us between the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets. And even after getting through just one game of the series, there are so many points that you could take away from both sides of this series. But to me personally, and I think a lot of other people that were watching as well, there has already been a monumental difference that can be noticed in this Boston Celtics team that doesn't just give me confidence that they can win this series, but it establishes the idea of how they are more of a championship contender this season than they have been in years past. One sec though, guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to like the video if you do enjoy, subscribe, and turn on those notifications to never miss another NBA video. Love you guys. And for those of you that haven't yet, I am highly encouraging you to do so, because according to my numbers, over 95% of you guys coming back to watch the content haven't even subscribed yet. So for any of you that do, thank you so much. But anyway, you guys, going into these 2022 playoffs, I think I can very safely say that the Boston Celtics had the most interesting situation out of any NBA team. Because if it wasn't already enough that they lost the anchor to their historically great defense this season, they still came into the big dance as one of the hottest teams in the entire NBA. However, they were seemingly punished because of it, getting the most difficult first round matchup they could have possibly received. And when I say that the Brooklyn Nets might just be the best lower 4 seed we have got from either conference in NBA history, I am not exaggerating. And the thing I love about the Celtics team this season is that without a doubt in anyone's mind, they could have very easily avoided this first round matchup if they really wanted to. Because after the injury to Robert Williams occurred, while the Celtics were in the middle of jockeying for the 2 through 4 seeds with both the Bucks and Sixers alongside them, I mean, they very easily could have coasted into possibly the 4 seed where the Sixers are right now and laid off the gas towards the end of the season. But the Celtics made it as clear as they possibly could have that they wanted this matchup. And don't get me wrong, you guys, if this was one of the Boston Celtics teams from years past, there would be many different reasons hinting towards a lack of confidence that the Celtics would be able to make it out of this series. Because when you look at the Celtics over the last couple of years, the one guaranteed improvement that you would almost always see out of them is individual improved success. I mean, with one of the most electric young duos in the NBA, in Tatum and Brown leading your squad, and alongside them, a rotation that for the most part is relatively young and is obviously only going to continue to get better, I think it's clear now that the roster itself was never the issue, and that is what so many different people tried to blame it on. And I don't think you can get any more simpler in describing the improvements of the Boston Celtics than by saying they have finally become a true and poised basketball team. And again, I know it's only a small sample size that we are going with this, but to take into consideration just the last play of Game 1 in this series, you can see how the chemistry and trust in this team is at a higher point than it has ever been in years past. And if they were ever going to develop true championship aspirations, this was needed more than any roster adjustments would have ever done for them. And I really don't think anyone else could have described the difference in the Boston Celtics better than what we saw from Draymond Green on Twitter yesterday. Because if you didn't know, Draymond has been live tweeting almost every single game outside of his series, and right after the final play for Boston yesterday, he went on to tweet, and there's the difference in this Celtics team. Last year, Marcus Smart would have taken that shot. Ime got him to buy in and be the Marcus Smart everyone loved out of Oklahoma State. Beautiful, looking like a true point guard again. That's what made him special. And I myself will even say that I thought that Marcus Smart was going to hook up that shot with 2 Brooklyn Nets defenders going at him at full speed. But even before that, when Jaylen Brown had the ball in his hand, I really thought that's how the game was going to end, with him backing his defender down into the paint and taking a contested fadeaway shot. And again, you guys, to Draymond Green's point, if this was either the 2020 or the 2021 Boston Celtics, Game 1 itself would have definitely had a different outcome, and hell, they probably wouldn't have even been in that situation if we're being completely honest. But like we saw in that big moment, and I feel like we're going to continually see it time and time again throughout this postseason, the true essence of team basketball in Boston is what is going to put them over the edge. But there is another major difference in this team that Celtics fans, you might have honestly thought that they were never going to be able to overcome, and this, which we have talked about recently on the channel, is the ability for the Celtics to close out big games in the fourth quarter. quarter. Because throughout the course of this entire season, even though yes, the majority of their blown leads were at the beginning of the year when they were a completely different team, Game 1 was this close to proving the point of what the biggest Achilles heel might have been for the Celtics. Because after almost blowing an 11-point lead going into the fourth quarter, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't looking pretty. But again, where many people might have doubted their ability to do so previously, the C's, to simply put it, buckled down, got the job done, walked out with the W, and in the end, you know as well as I do, that's all that matters. But if we were to have one takeaway of improvement more than anything from what we've seen, it's the fact that at least in my mind, they need to establish how to keep their foot on the gas for all 4 quarters no matter what the score is. Because again, this kind of ties into how they've struggled to close out games, but the reason it seems so common is because every time they get a lead in the fourth quarter, they almost try to just coast to the finish line. Which, I mean, we all knew it didn't work in the regular season, so if they're gonna try it in the playoffs, they got a lot more coming. Long story short though, no matter how long this series goes, no matter who comes out on top, I wouldn't doubt it in the slightest if this is one of the greatest first round matchups that we will ever see. But if the Boston Celtics can make it out alive and hold out for the return of the anchor of possibly the best defense the game has ever seen, I'll just say it's going to be quite the challenge for a team to beat them 4 times. I'll leave it at that. But anyway, you guys, I wanted to mention that with the playoffs being here and with the content you saw today, this is probably going to be more of the direction of the content we're putting out going forward, at least for the majority of these NBA playoffs, because I mean, it's less of a sample size to talk about, but it's also the only thing that people want to hear about. So I just wanted to let you guys know, but also I want to hear what you think about this series and the Boston Celtics going forward. So please let me know in the comments who you have winning this series and in how many games. Also though guys, again, if you haven't yet, don't forget to go down below and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and of course subscribe while you're down there. I can't say it enough, you guys, with the playoffs finally here, we're gonna have more content to talk about than we ever have beforehand. So if you were considering it, believe me when I say this, you do not want to miss out. But also, I just wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you more than anything. You all know this, and I will see you guys in the next video.